Hey everyone, welcome to Pastor Play. So today we have Scream 6 currently playing in theaters. So we open with following the latest Ghostface killings. The four survivors leave Woodsboro behind and go to college in New York City to start a fresh new chapter in their lives. But on Halloween night, Ghostface reemerges in the Apple with a score to settle and will kill anyone who gets in the way. And let's start off actually with Ghostface. Right off the bat, he's menacing, violent, bloody, gory, just doesn't does have has no concern for anybody or any well-being for anyone that he's going after. And there's just this, and within the space of New York City, or the backdrop of New York City, and the subway, and the bodega, which are all scenes that you've seen in the trailer. It's just Ghostface is just very volatile. Just and there's this a nervousness, anxiety kind of ridden that the characters have based on the fact that it is Halloween night. You got hundreds and thousands of peoples on the different, in New York walking around in the subway, in the different shops and places, and it can be anybody. And yes, you have the ghost face, whether it's one or more ghost face killers. I can't say, I don't want to ruin the film, but and then you have just, all these individuals who could just be serial killers that aren't Ghostface. They just crazy and, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, whatever. And that's in any place. But in New York, it's a whole plethora of characters. And so just having it in that backdrop is really great. Even though I did find out that the film was shot in Canada, like on a studio lot. So they didn't even film in New York. They probably had a cinematographer go down to New York to take certain shots and things like that. But it wasn't actually shot in New York. But you wouldn't know that based on how the film is done. And yeah, Ghostface is the most violent, goriest, bloodlust, just kind of just has no regard for the person. Yeah, Ghostface is like on a whole new level of just killing spree, F everybody kind of attitude. And I really do love the main, they call them the core four. They said it in the trailer. You have Sam, played by Melissa Barrera, Terror, played by Jenna Ortega, Mindy Meeks, played by Jasmin Savoy Brown, and Chad Meeks, played by Mason Gooding. And they give the main four characters a lot of character development. You really do see the relationship and the dynamic between Sam and Tara. How Sam is being overprotective, but she loves her sister, but she's also dealing with her kind of bloodlust and the hallucinations of Billy Loomis, her father, and just kind of coming to the realization that there's a part of her that is like her father that she can't necessarily deny, but she has to kind of figure out, is she like him or is she going to be her own person? And then you also have the dynamic of social media, because even though they're in a new state, or a new city, new state, whatever, their social media, everyone knows who they are, and they're trying to kind of move on to an extent, try to have a semblance of a normal life and not be stuck in that time of what happened in Woodsboro. And people aren't necessarily letting them forget. People want to remind them. And so just that whole kind of deal. And then also to just the relationship of Mindy and Chad Meeks, the twins. And one of the things that I kind of wanted to this film was, I'm like, I hope they don't kill the black people. When you think about, I Know What You Did Last Summer too, with Brandy, and was it In the Deep Blue Sea with LL Cool J? In the 90s, it was so rare. If you think about Scream 2, the opening scene with Jada Pinkett Smith and Omar Epps, getting killed in the movie theater, the likelihood of you being African Americano in a horror film, the odds were not in your favor. It wasn't going to end well for you. But I can't say, but I was just like, let them live. Even though sometimes in this movie it does seem that some of the murders and the kills are like kind of far beyond belief of this person should be dead, and Ghostface is like stabbing people and like dragging the knife up like like he's cutting through cheese or whatever and cutting a slice to put on some bread for some toast or something. So it kind of does just spin beyond like belief that I just cut you open, and like their spleen or whatever should be hanging out, and they're like walking around hobbling and running. I'm like, you should be dead, or you should have at least bled out on the floor. And so that's the only part that kind of had me going like, I'm like, this person should be dead. And there's like multiple people where it's like, you should be dead by now. I will say in other films, somewhat of as a clue is every death may not be what it appears to be. And they did a fake out in one of the other screams. So every death may not be what it appears to be. As far as figuring out who the killer or killers were, I was actually able to figure it out, but it was kind of certain things were kept being said repeatedly, and I'm like, well, that's probably this. And so I wasn't actually shocked with who the killer or killers were. There is kind of a surprise within a surprise, if you want to look at it. The opening murder setup, how they do that here, is done very well. Probably, I would say within the top three, you have the original with Drew Barrymore. You have the Scream 2 with Jada Pinkett Smith and Omar Epps. That whole movie theater kill, and I say this one's probably in the top three. I wouldn't say it's one for me. Scream 6. I still respect those other ones, and I mean, I've always liked the horror kind of comedy aspect, the banter, the tongue-in-cheekness of Wes Craven, what he initially did with Kevin Williamson, I think, who wrote the original script. But I but this opening is pretty good. It's pretty good. Ghostface like, who gets up? So pretty good. The kills are great. The sequences with Gail Weathers / Courtney Cox, that whole sequence that you see in the trailer, that's awesome. The scene where they're in the bodega, that's great. The train scene is very like menacing, the lights flickering on and off, and you see a ghost face. It's like here, and then as it flickers again, the ghost face gets closer. Is it just a regular, you know, train customer, or is it the actual ghost face? And so there's just things that are done. I think they're creative in how they execute the kills, and the settings in which Ghostface is kind of running amok. A lot of the characters don't always make the smartest decisions. Where it's like, you could have maybe killed Ghostface here. You should have did this, but you did that, and you're like, well, y'all should be smarter by now. It's like, right. And Nev Campbell is missing Sidney Prescott because they don't want to pay her what she deserves, and they do explain why she's not in this film. And for the way that the story is done, it really wouldn't have made sense for her to be in the film. If Paramount can figure out, how to pay her, and maybe pay her a certain amount of money, for doing the role, and then pay her on the back end, which makes more sense. Just pay her on the back end. Give her a portion of the box office. They do that for a lot of stars. If you want to still pay her whatever amount of money that, the contract fee, that's fine. Well, then just pay her on the back end. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Give her a piece of the box office, a percentage of it. I don't understand why, but I will say if she does come back and they get their stuff together, I think she needs to be the main focus of the film. But I will say Tara and Sam as the final girls, if they make it to be the final girls in this film, kind of getting some fresh new blood, fresh new outlook, fresh new take really does work in this film. And again, there's a lot of character development for both of those characters, and it works really well here. And I feel more invested in Sam and Tara and Mindy and Chad, and at some point, somebody going to die. I don't know if they all gonna make it to the end of this film. I'm pretty sure at this point, I feel like a Scream 7 is gonna happen. It'll be interesting to see where they take the story. And you do have Hayden Panettiere back as Kirby. Now she's 30 in this film. In Scream 4, she was a senior in high school. There's a certain wit and charm that she had in 4 that it's a little bit, it's a hit or miss here. I mean, she's not the same person that she was prior to that cycle of killings. And so she plays, you see like moments of that Kirby, but this is not the same one, girl. She was a girl then, she's like a grown woman now, she's 30 years old. So I do like what they did with Hayden Panettiere. Will she be back? I can't say again, but I do like what they did with her. But overall, this was a good watch. You don't really need to see it in 3D. I did for the fan screening event, but you don't actually need to see it in 3D. If you want to, then all power to you. But you're not really missing anything if you don't see it in 3D. And then I will say, probably the last thing I will say, as far as the motives of the killer or the killers, there's only so many reasons that you would have to do something like this. I mean, you're going on a killing spree or a murder spree, and you're taking people's lives. Now, some of it is formulaic to an extent based on the previous films. It's kind of circling the same drain that the other films kind of have, but some of these tropes can be, refreshed or re-energized in certain aspects. But a motive of why someone is going on a killing spree, there's only so many reasons why you could really do that. And I'm only going to focus on the first film. You have Billy Loomis, who his father had cheated with Sydney Prescott's mom, and that broke up Billy Loomis's family. And he killed Sydney's mom, got revenge on her for breaking up his family. Then he starts dating Sydney, takes her virginity, and he ends up cheating on her and getting another girl pregnant in high school. He also he ends up killing her friends, pretending that he loves her and cares for her and all this stuff. But he's somehow still the victim. And somehow it's, Sydney's mom is a, whore. These are things that he said, but his father chose to cheat on his mother and break up their family or get a divorce. Sydney was not responsible for her mother. She didn't even know that her mother was sleeping with different men in Woodsboro, in that area. So to blame her for it or to take it out on her as if it's like I was just born. I was just existing. So even in this film, there's when the reveal happens, the killer or killers give their reasoning, and it's like, okay, was Sydney not supposed to defend herself? So in Scream 2, when it's Billy Loomis's mom and then some other man that she finds on a chat, on some, dark web chat, serial killer chat, and enlist him in the college to get inside of Sydney's friend group to get revenge for Sydney killing her son. It's like, well, was Sydney not supposed to defend herself? Was Dewey not supposed to defend himself? Was Gail not supposed to defend herself? Are these characters not supposed to defend themselves? Like, I just think it's a lot of nerve. That's one thing I just don't respect that. It's like, you're going to try to take my life, but then put on a bulletproof vest. I'm like, no, I don't respect that. But It's just, to me, that's just a lot of nerve. Or you try to kill me, but then you had all the knives, so I can't use something to defend myself. Like, I don't respect that logic. And then it's like, you're a bad person, or you're this type of a person. It's like, well, there's a difference between self-defense and just killing people willy-nilly. Just because you're like mentally disturbed, or you're a fanatic, or you're trying to course correct a sequel, prequel, lequel, mequel, whatever, film from the original or from the second, or trying to re-energize the fan base or re-energize the franchise, or whatever reasoning that they really give themselves. None of them are really like mind-provoking, poignant reasons to do those kind of things, to kill people or take people's lives. So in that reasoning, I feel like there's only so many plausible, semantical reasons why you would have to justify doing something like that. And there's only so many ways they can do it. And so, but at the end of the day, irregardless of that, I still like this film. I think this is a great addition to the overall Scream franchise. I like this one even better than Scream 5 from last year, but I still like the last one. There were some problems I had with it, but I still did like this one. And what I would tell you what to do with your money is go see it. I think that you will enjoy the film, and the crowd, the people there is very engaged with the jokes and different things on the film. So I think you really will have a great time overall with just going, and just the engagement of the crowd and the stuff that's happening on the screen. So other than that, if you like this review, hit the like button. If you have any comments, comment below. Please subscribe. Check out some of my other videos. Other than that, bye for now.